Walking down to the river. Got my stuff in the bag. Got my camera ready to go. I am slowly approaching the place where I'm gonna shoot there. Sit there by the river. Slowly approaching it. Don't want to scare away a bird or something. Hello people, I am Johan Smit, a wildlife nature photographer from South Africa. Today I'm doing a video on why you should maybe consider using manual focus for wildlife and wildlife photography. How it may benefit you, why I use it, and the pros and cons of it. And yes, let's get into it. So point number one, focusing while recording video. DSLRs use the sensor the whole time while recording video, so the mirror can't flip down to give an image in the viewfinder. So the live view is all way to see what you're recording with the DSLR. Okay, that is all way you can see what you're recording on a DSLR. So with DSLRs, with Nikons, the autofocus in the live view is not good. It's a well-known fact about Nikon that the live view focus isn't that good. Especially with this entry-level DSLR, which is a Nikon D3200, it doesn't have the best autofocusing system, especially not in the live view. So when I record video, I use manual focusing because of that. If I record, if I use autofocus while recording video, the focusing isn't that good at all, and it hunts the whole time. So what I do is I look through the LCD, the viewfinder, pre-focus, and then switch to video and start recording. And hopefully the subject stays where it is. If it moves, I might consider refocusing. If I trust myself enough to not spoil the shot, I might try to refocus. And yes, so the LCD isn't bright at all. So in the harsh sun, bright sunlight, it's not easy to focus with the LCD screen, and it's not sharp. So seeing if it's perfectly in focus is also hard. So that is why I use the viewfinder, which is nice and bright, and my cap I can use to block out the sun from above, and everything around it blocks the sun. So I can perfectly see if it is in focus or not. Point number two is the autofocusing system of the camera. Not blaming it, it's very good, especially with single point autofocus. So the subjects I shoot most of the time is small birds. For a long time I've only shot them on branches and where they sit still, and it got quite boring. So I want to shoot more of them active, like flying. That's something very cool, of small birds flying, birds in flight, landing, any cool shot of them while they're busy flying or something. So with higher-end DSLRs or cameras, dynamic area AF, most pro photographers would use that. The camera then decides automatically what the subject should be and focuses on it. But my camera, the dynamic area focus is terrible, and the autofocusing itself gets worse because the camera choosing the subject takes some processing power, and then it's not that good at physically turning the motor in the lens until the image is sharp. So that is why I prefer to use single spot focus when I'm using autofocus, because then I can tell the camera what I want it to focus on, and it would focus on that. But the problem is when the camera doesn't take a picture if it doesn't if the point that I chose is not in focus, it doesn't take a picture. So then the problem is when I'm focusing on a bird while it's sitting there and it suddenly flies off, and I start pressing the shutter, and it doesn't see the bird anymore because it's too fast. And even if I put the spot on the bird, which is highly unlikely, it would still not identify the bird as in focus and will not take a shot. So by that I have literally no chance at all of getting a proper in focus picture of a bird in flight. Maybe if it's against the bright sky and the subject is very isolated, the camera might be able to grab focus on it, but otherwise not, no. So that's why I use manual focus. I can trust myself. It's not totally unreliable, so I can trust myself most of the times. There is definitely places where manual autofocus would be way better, like photographing bigger animals. They don't move as much. I can keep the point on them. They would stay in focus. So the camera does not have to choose the subject, or I don't have to work as hard putting the spot on the animal. But with birds, manual focus would be the better option for me. If I want a shot that's in focus, or if I want a shot at all, because it doesn't take a shot when it's not in focus. Then point number 3, it's I don't rely on my camera. So if something went wrong with the autofocusing system, if something went wrong, I am able to autofocus quite good, quite reliable, and definitely not so bad. But yes, there is places where autofocus just does its work better, and that's definitely with still objects and subjects, because then the camera is better at fine-tuning that last little bit and getting the subject in perfect focus, which I'm not that good at, not through this quite small viewfinder. The image isn't that big inside, so I'm not always sure is it in focus now, which the camera most of the time can identify really good. So I don't rely on the autofocusing system. Then the last point, I think it's point number 5 or 4, never mind, that is skill. I learned myself a skill that very few of modern photographers, wildlife photographers, or any photographer for that matter, can do properly. So modern day photographers ain't that good at manual focusing at all. They usually they don't use it because the camera is so good in modern days. But yes, so I learn a skill that very few photographers have, and it's quite nice to have. And I was forced to always manual focus because my first lens broke somehow. It must have gotten some physical damage in a way. So I was forced to use manual focus, and that got me really good at it. Now I would say, in the conditions that I normally shoot, I'm 60%. the camera is 40% good at what it does and I'm 60%. I'm a little better, I would say, in the conditions I normally shoot in at focusing than the camera. So let me show you how I use the manual focus. I usually leave the VR on. I usually leave the VR on because it just makes things more stable, and especially for me when manual focusing. When I hold the camera out and try to see if it's in focus, that extra stability just helps a huge amount, because I can then clearly identify the thing as in focus or not. While when I'm shaking a bit and the VR is off, or your lens doesn't have it, it's really hard to actually just see if it's pin sharp or not. Then the second thing is sometimes I walk, or when I'm just walking around going about, I'll leave the autofocus on. Depends on what I expect, what I think my subject might be. So if I know there's birds around, and small birds, and maybe birds in flight especially, I would use manual focus already. When I see the bird, I got a few shots and I see the bird's not going to fly straight away, I might switch to auto and make sure I have a few shots that the camera auto-focused and got in focus. So most of the time I expect the camera to have that in focus, and it definitely does a good job. And when I see the bird become active, or like a little more movement, then I expect it to take off at any moment and switch to manual focus. And that is how I mostly shoot my small little birds, and how I capture most of the wildlife I do, which is birds, because I don't have access to bigger animals all day long, but I have access to birds and smaller animals, birds, all day long. And so that is most of the time what I shoot, and this is how I do it. So I use manual focus. The last sum up, video mode, it's far better in the video mode. Number two, it's when the bird takes off and the spot, the camera won't identify it as in focus, and it won't take a shot, and then I won't ever have a chance at getting a shot that is in focus. Then third one is reliability. I'm more reliable than the camera. The camera can break, the lens can break, and I'm not dependent on the camera. I can autofocus myself. And then lastly, skill. I have a skill that very few photographers have in these days with the good cameras. So I have a skill that's actually good to have. Yes, I hope that helps someone. Maybe someone with a camera with not that great autofocus, and maybe that inspires someone to also try it out. I must say it takes a very long time to actually learn to autofocus to any degree that is reliable. So it takes a very long time. It takes a lot of hours. It takes a lot of practice, and if your eyesight is not that good, maybe autofocus would be better for you. Otherwise, in the situation that I'm decided to switch to manual is when the bird takes off. So I would maybe put it in autofocus, focus on the bird, and switch to manual and not touch the focusing ring, because when it takes off you can fire shots and it will take them. I'm not sure if it will be in focus, but most of the time the first shot, if the bird is going towards you or away, the first shot might still be in focus. And if the bird's flying like sideways, perpendicular to you, there's a great chance that you might have a few shots that's still in focus, because the plane stretches where the bird flies. So for people with not so good eyesight, maybe autofocus would be better, or just use what I told you now. I hope this helps someone. I don't know if I have images to show you from today. There wasn't that much activity today, but I might show you some other images of what I previously captured with manual focus that would not have been possible with autofocus. Thank you for watching, and give it a like and subscribe. On my way back, I saw these two fish eagles circling around each other, beautifully, gracefully, and I thought I'd just show you. They are very big birds, and I would like to photograph them close up.